Hi everyone, I'm fortunate enough to have twisted Michelle's arm to come in and talk to us one more time about a really important, and in this case I think a critical issue that you're starting to see in real estate. There has been updates and changes with not just lead paint, now it's lead piping. This is, I think you said it was a federal mandate?
Yes, so the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, which is a federal agency, has regulations in place requiring that within the next 10 years lead pipes be removed from the drinking system. So this is a national thing, but is important in Massachusetts because we've got an old housing stock, we've got an old infrastructure in many cities and towns. So Massachusetts is taking it very seriously, and we're starting to see towns put different initiatives in place.
Now you say towns putting different initiatives in place. So there's a federal guideline, and the state of Massachusetts hasn't added anything to it, but they're letting each town sort of handle it their own way, or are they giving them sort of some leeway to get it done by?
I think towns have some leeway in terms of how they're doing this, but they have to do it regardless. Every town's different, so I did a little bit of research on different towns. So I would start with the city of Malden, and I know this because about 4 years ago I sold a couple of old homes in Malden, and just as we were getting ready to close, found out that the engineering department needed to come in and inspect. What they're looking for is lead in the service line, which is the pipe that goes from the street to the meter. So it's on the homeowner's property. It is the homeowner's responsibility and property, but in some cases there are still some lead pipes. So Malden for years now has had this initiative that when you sell a home, you're required to change it over. Most cities and towns that I'm seeing, this is a newer thing for them. So they're at different phases of the process.
A few towns, it's not so much that they're dragging their feet, it was just sort of like, this is a low tier thing, we haven't been forced into it, we'll take care of it when we need to take care of it, and now it's sort of become a thing that's being pushed up.
Right, and I think we're going to see the most aggressive initiatives in the cities that have, a lot of older homes and a lot of property. So we are hearing, that there are initiatives underway in Medford, in Arlington. Arlington is talking about putting a similar type of program in place where when you're selling a home, you have to have an inspection completed and confirm that there's no lead. I took the liberty of checking a number of town websites in our area just to see what different towns are doing. And on most of, not every, but most town websites, you're going to see a whole section now. You're going to see a lot of information about this issue. So starting with Andover has a lot of information. They have been working on this for a few years. They've been sending letters to homeowners who either have known lead or that they're not sure what the service pipes are made from, and trying to aggressively tackle this. Andover and Reading as well had good information. Both of them on their websites talked about working with homeowners at the town's cost to actually replace service pipes when needed. Massachusetts is getting, I think, $55 million from federal funding to help with this.
Is this sort of like similar to what they had with the Mass Save? Like I know with me when we did our furnace, we got a 7-year interest-free loan.
There are initiatives like that, and I think statewide there'll be some initiatives, some interest-free loan. But from what I can see in those two towns, the town is actually footing the bill. They're saying there's no cost. They're coordinating with the homeowner to replace it, and there's no cost to the homeowner. Methuen also had a lot of information, but they indicated on their website that it is at the homeowner's cost. So it's at this point, it's really going to be a town-by-town thing. And if a homeowner learns that they do have lead service pipes, it's going to be a matter of just finding out what's available and what they need to do.
Yep. I think if you're selling your house, you need to be really proactive at this point and reach out to your town and find out what's going on, because you're going to need a certification now for closing, right?
I mean,
or is that
not in every town right now.
So some towns are requiring it, but
yes. I also checked the websites of Wilmington and Tewksbury, which are towns I know very well, and they actually have been working on this for a few years and have already sent letters to, again, homeowners with known lead or unknown substances. In Tewksbury, I was notified just recently because I'm a homeowner there, and they wanted to come and do a meter change. So they did a meter change for me just last week, and I'm seeing on their website now that that's part of their meter change initiative, is that they're inspecting. So they didn't even mention it to me, but they inspected while they were there to confirm.
Now I'm curious, and I don't know if you know this, and I might have to actually call the towns. Are they inspecting the line itself? Are they like running a camera through the line to see if they run into lead, or is it just we see lead where it comes out of the house, or are we seeing lead where it's in the street and it heads into the house?
I do know that the way that the EPA really confirms whether there's lead is with the water test. Another thing I wanted to mention, because I've been researching this, I've learned a lot, is that it's not just lead pipes that are an issue. In some cases, it's also galvanized steel pipes. Lead was put into pipes largely before the 1940s, although it was still sometimes used after the 1940s, up until 1986 when it was prohibited legally. But also, after that, I guess, went out of fashion, a lot of galvanized steel pipes were used, and the problem with galvanized steel is that it traps or absorbs lead particles. So if you have that type of a pipe, your water can still be unsafe and contaminated with lead, so those are being replaced as well.
So as far as if you're listing a house and what you want to do to be proactive, what do you recommend the sellers doing up front?
Right. So at Gibson Sotheby's, we are talking to our agents about this now. We want to get ahead of this and not have transactions with a problem at the last minute. So we are advising our agents to when they list a property, or when they're working with a buyer who's interested in a property, if they don't already know the ins and outs of that town, to check the town website, talk to the town. Most of the town websites actually have maps that show individual properties, and they're color-coded to show whether they've confirmed that there's not lead or galvanized steel, whether there is, or whether it's an unknown, and find out whether what the town is doing and whether there's a process in place.
All right, so we got to the point, we're going to list the house, they've reached out to the town, and the town thinks there's lead, they've done an inspection, and there's lead there. What do they have to do to sell the house?
Right. So right now, there's no statewide mandate that they have to do anything. But in Malden, for example, where they've had this program for a while, if it is determined that there are lead service pipes, the homeowner does have to replace them at the homeowner's cost prior to closing. If it's impossible for whatever reason, maybe the ground is frozen and it's going to be too difficult, there's probably going to be a situation in place where they have to sign something stamped by the town indicating that the new owner is going to replace them within a certain amount of time. Probably if the buyer is getting a loan, there's either going to be a problem or they're going to have to put some funds in escrow. So we may very well see some challenges, and the more we can get out ahead of those, the better.
Have you heard or seen anything, though, if you have a condo complex, like a garden-style complex, there's a line coming in? Now, I imagine most of these complexes have been gotten ahead of this and taken care of it, but we do have complexes that are here from the 60s, 70s.
Right.
So it's not likely that they have lead, but it sounds like they technically could have.
I don't know whether property management companies and associations have been working on this or will be, but it
would make sense, though. So if you have a condo and you have a development like that, it would make sense to reach out to the association and find out if they know anything, if they've done anything, and where they're at. I'm sure in some of these towns, it's going to be difficult to navigate for these first couple of years.
Most likely, yep, and it'll be a changing and evolving thing. So it is important for our buyers and sellers to be working with agents who know a town or can get up to speed very quickly and what that town requires, and who are just keeping tabs on what's changing in terms of regulations so that our buyers and sellers are not caught by surprise.
And then as far as on the buyer side, I guess it's just sort of a question you want to ask the seller. Have your agent talk to the listing agent before they even put an offer in? Have you guys checked in on the lead pipe? Is there any sort of certification done? Does anything need to be done? Do you know if it needs to be replaced? Just sort of find that out before you even put your offer in to make sure you're going to be able to close on time.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think we're there yet, but we may very well start to see that as a condition in offers from buyers is, subject to confirmation that there are no lead service pipes. And maybe they do a water inspection. Maybe the buyer pays for that just to make sure for their own, because they don't want to find out after they buy the property that now they have to foot the bill to change it over. One other thing too is that most of the towns that I'm looking at, if they haven't already, they're in the process of sending letters to homeowners if they know that there's lead or if they suspect that there's lead. If a seller receives a letter, if they've received a letter that says, we believe you have lead service pipes, that's something that they should be disclosing. That's a material fact that they really should be disclosing if they've been made aware by the town. So we need to have those conversations with our sellers as well. Find out if a letter has been received, what it says, and then have them talk to their attorneys about any disclosure obligations.
All right, so it doesn't sound like it's an end of the world event, but it is definitely a hurdle that we're going to start running into more and more.
It's one more thing. There's always something, and that's what keeps our industry so interesting.
All right, is there any other aspect you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
That's it.
All right, I feel smarter.
Same.
All right, Michelle, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, if you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to go to Michelle. If she doesn't know the answer, we're going to go deeper into the Gibson Sotheby's.
Consult our attorney as well.
And we will get you taken care of. Have a great day, everyone.